Smart Meetings podcast, where we talk to the experts about what made all the difference in their lives and careers. And this time, we are focusing on America 250 and how to take all that great energy of an anniversary and turn it into a powerful event. I am so excited. I am here with Johanna Walsh. She is Vice President of Event Production at Encore. Welcome, Johanna.
Thank you so much, JT. So happy to be here.
And also on the pod is the fabulous Melinda Curley. She's Vice President of Customer Experience, Government and Public Sector with Hargrove. Welcome, Melinda.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
So we're going to get right down to it. Tell me, what does the semi-quincentennial of the founding of the United States mean to you personally? Johanna, why don't you start, and then we'll go to Melinda.
I think the excitement around being able to celebrate such an incredible milestone of the country is just so exciting. And we start to look at how the states and cities around us are all starting to activate into one area, into one big event. So you've got activations in Ohio to Alaska to California, and to know that there's this incredible momentum that is going to all be this gigantic crescendo to celebrate this event is incredibly exciting. It's once in a lifetime.
I love that. Melinda, what does it mean to you?
So it's funny, I remember the bicentennial. I remember the parades in grammar school and the plays that we all appeared in. So this is really full circle, having this ability to be able to celebrate this again. This is a chance for us as event professionals to connect communities, to connect generations, to retell history. And it's just so great to be able to be a part of that as Hargrove and Encore to help create these meaningful events.
And I remember that as well from my childhood. There were lots of fireworks, although I'm predicting that this time we're going to see more drone shows. What do you think? Yeah. We do a lot of drone shows at Smart Meetings Experiences, and they're always super fun. And so a lot of events and destinations will be leveraging the emotional meaning of the occasion for gatherings. Now, you had some dazzling statistics for how much is probably going to be spent in Philadelphia and DC alone, and the increase in visitation they're going to see from America 250. Can you share that, Melinda?
We do have some data. Obviously it's not final because we're in the midst of this, but we have seen activity begin in this year, 2025. It's peaking in 2026 and will flatten out again in 27. But, the data is showing from the bicentennial that I mentioned earlier, there were 200 million people who participated in the bicentennial.
200 million?
Yeah. Yep. And the economic impact was in the billions of dollars. Now, projections for key cities like Philadelphia, which just published its whole list of events, and Washington, are estimated to be in the $1 to $2 billion range to celebrate this occasion.
Billion with a B.
Billion.
Wow. That's a lot of action. That is a lot of investment. And we need to make sure when you're investing in something like that, that planners and their companies are getting the most out of it. So I'm so glad the two of you are here helping us with this today. Now, as our community of meeting professionals are thinking about getting in on the action, what are some tips that you have for them to go beyond red, white, and blue bunting? Johanna, you want to start, and then we'll go to Melinda?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to maybe put on my event production hat on and sound the boring siren up for start planning now, start planning early. These events are overlapping with already huge, big event schedules. They have lots of different logistics because of the crowd size. Another thing to flag is that we also, as a country, are going to be hosting the FIFA World Cup during the peak of the celebrations. So, many of our largest cities are already going to be very excitedly welcoming in people from all over the world to celebrate football and soccer, depending whatever you call it, in addition to being able to celebrate our 250-year anniversary and tell our stories and share that with the world. So that means space is going to be at a premium. Hotel rates, convention centers, special event rooms, all the various promenades, since it'll be June and July, and excited for summer and being outdoors. So really understanding your venue footprint, your needs for permitting, getting ahead into like your any fabrication and graphics needs. Our world requires a lot of resources to make really incredible events happen. So getting started now is probably my number one advice. And maybe after, some holidays we get through. So,
so plan early and often is what you're saying.
Unfortunately, it's always the rule. It's always where we land.
Melinda, how are you approaching this?
So I'm approaching it slightly differently, and it's from the storyline. What I would say is, as you think about these events, sure, there are the mega events, there are the big citywide events, but there are also thousands and thousands of smaller events that are just as important. And I would encourage everybody to start thinking about, what can my events look like? What kind of a story am I telling? Take the time to do some research. Take some time to have a few things in your back pocket, because we all know that the planning cycle for events is pretty short and people are going to want to get in on this. So it's going to be one of those things where we might be starting slow right now, but I feel like it's going to get a tremendous amount of momentum, and you need to be ready for that, because you're going to get those calls and they're going to come fast and you're going to need to respond fast. So the more thought you give it right now, like Johanna was saying, with getting your resources in line, but also start getting your storytelling in line. How can you get the message across? What are the messages? And we can talk more about that, but that would be my advice.
And maybe we start making Pinterest boards right now, right? Like collecting ideas, things that you can find. Oh, I love that. I could spend a weekend doing that. So a lot of us are going to be at PCMA Convening Leaders in January. And when they announced this last year, they brought a full marching band playing patriotic tunes to Houston. I don't know if anyone remembers that. What are some tips for the logistics behind going big with citywide and convention center-wide events next year? And I'm going to go back to you, Johanna, to kick us off.
Well, and like we kind of touched on before, these events are going to be outside of the four walls of our standard event spaces. So really thinking about permitting, transportation, wayfinding, integration within parks and departments of transportation. Are you going to need to block off streets? Are you going to be adjacent to other festivals and events going on? So really participating locally and understanding the local needs of the days, what's happening, local laws and requirements to do hosting events of this size and nature are really key.
So you're going to have to work across departments and perhaps with some government agencies, which really reinforces what you said before, is start early, right?
Right, because a lot of those places have permit deadlines that, are very different timelines than you might have in a standard conference or event infrastructure.
Melinda, what behind the scenes do you see needs to take place?
So to echo what Johanna was saying, if you have relationships with your local officials and the local agencies in your towns or your cities, reach out. Get on their websites, do the research, see what they're talking about, see what they're planning, because I think that's really important. The other thing I would say is you have to remember, when you're doing a large scale event in a non-traditional venue, you're building a city. You're building an infrastructure. So you've got to take care of all the things that come with the convention center and come with the hotel. Those are all components that you're going to need to figure out. And there are a lot of them. It's trash collection. It might be Wi-Fi. It might be permitting, as Johanna was saying. It's porta potties. It's all the things. So there are a lot of things on that checklist.
And so as you're going through that whole list of things, are there any ways that our community can make sure that they are staying on budget while they're doing that, right? So something like this has a lot of variables, and especially when you are planning way ahead and the price of eggs and star-shaped cookies might be going up between now and July. Any tips, any bonus tips for how to make sure you don't break the budget when you're buying fireworks? Johanna?
Yeah, again, I'm going to beat the old dead horse about planning early, right? Things are cheaper, things are more affordable before you hit your rush fees or your fees. Things just are going to get more expensive the closer you get to an event, that we want to make sure that everyone tries to avoid by, aligning on your brand story, your graphics plans, your overall needs, because locking in those prices today is going to be much better than locking them in May 2026.
All right, Melinda?
Yeah, and that goes to the whole relationship side of things. We see this even now. You're planning an event for 9 months down the road, and then there are price increases that happen. So you got to factor that in when you're doing your budgeting. It is a business. and you have to treat it like a business. So as exciting as it might be, just being aware of those things and planning for them is really important. So you have to anticipate that. I mean, it's supply and demand. The demand is going to get greater and the supply is limited.
Wise words. Okay, so I want to go, Melinda, back to something you mentioned, which is that at its heart, a themed event is storytelling. What are the narratives that can add depth to a program in 2026?
So I love this question because there isn't one answer, which is like my favorite thing. A lot of people will say this is a historical event. You must tell the historical story. That's one way of doing it. Other people say this is a cultural event. You need to tell the cultural story. They're both the right story. And what I would say to producers and creatives as you're thinking about it is be authentic. Tell the story that is the right story. This is an opportunity to use a variety of voices. And when you know where your voice is, and you have to work this out with your client, but when you know what the voice is, I think the story itself starts to unfold. I mean, one thing that I've been looking at is I think the history is beautiful. I think that the culture is beautiful, but we're also talking about the future. And if you have corporate clients, maybe that's what would resonate with them. It's not about what we've done in the last 250 years. It's about that, but what are we going to do in the next 250 years? Maybe that's another storyline. So think about it that way. Don't lock yourself into one.
Nice. Johanna, what kinds of stories are you going to be telling?
I love what Melinda was saying about the authenticity. Again, we're going to be seeing events across almost every city in every state. And telling that individual story or localized story will be really fantastic. Here in Cincinnati, they already started with these fantastic riverboat festival. And so these big, beautiful riverboats actually then started journeying their way down the Ohio River about a month ago. And that's a really important story for Cincinnati, Kentucky, and the Ohio River and this whole area. And so thinking about ways that the story can be both reinvigorated and really localized and really resonate with the local community. But I also love this idea of what's the future. You kind of said it at the beginning too, JT, of like, instead of fireworks, it's drones. And how do we see the next 250 years? And that's where, can get really exciting from an event creative and design point of view. Really bold.
Can't wait to see what you two come up with. So, this is called What One Thing. So I have to ask, so what is the one thing that makes a sesquicentennial, bisequincentennial, or quarter millennium event sing? What is one thing that you would suggest our community of meeting professionals do to ring in the new era? Melinda and then Johanna.
Well, the one thing is create experiences that make people feel that this is our history, this is our moment, and this is our future.
I think this is a really great opportunity to kind of what I said earlier, to be bold, to experiment, to do things at immense scale, to really feel that immense celebration and pride, and to harness that for your attendees and then probably your other sets of attendees who are going to get to see and experience what you bring to life.
Oh, we will all watch it together. Thank you for jumping on and talking about this topic while we can still plan for it. We so enjoyed talking to you and appreciate you every single day.
Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Smart Meetings What One Thing was produced by Bright Business Media. Visit smartmeetings.com to subscribe to your daily dose of inspiration.